Hello and welcome to my September TBR, in which I probably overdo things. Welcome to my bookshelf odyssey. My name is Art, and I have a very ambitious September TBR list. So welcome if you are new. I'm glad to have you here. For those of you coming back, it's good to see you again. Before I get to my September TBR, I do want to just mention again that in April, I'll be hosting a GaskellinApril read-along event of some kind in April of 2023. And I'm even now just starting to think about what I want that to look like and be like. I'm about 90% sure we'll be reading North and South together. That'll be a reread for me, but I've read it only once a few years ago. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it would be a great book to get started on doing this annual reading event. And then I might have a couple other challenges to go with it. It won't be anything too crazy, or at least I'm trying not to make it too crazy, because my nature is to just jump in with both feet and get in way over my head, as you're about to see with my TBR. Probably have a recommendation for a nonfiction read, and maybe like if there's an adaptation of some kind, I might watch and talk about and encourage us all to watch together. Those are just some beginning thoughts I had as I'm beginning to plan GaskellinApril. So if you're interested, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, and all those things that we're supposed to do to make YouTube an enjoyable experience for everyone, or something like that. Anyway, I saw that there's a read 30 books in 30 days challenge, and some of the videos I've watched about that mention that the books that you read can count as even short stories and short novels, novellas, things like that, which is great. But I'm going to do kind of my own modified marathon reading sessions, I think, this month, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. I would like to read and challenge myself to read about 250 pages every day in the month of September. Now, that is a pretty big challenge. I'm not sure I'll be able to do it, but we'll see how far I get in it. There's a couple of things with that. I picked 250 because that was about an average size novel in my mind. Around 250 to 300. I thought maybe 300 was a little bit much. So I'm going to try for the 250 mark every day in September. I'm obviously going to be counting audiobooks and even short stories that I might read that aren't a part of a collection. If I read something online, I'll count those towards the page count. So by the end of the month, I may not have read a total of 300 or of 30 books, but I'll have at least read, 250 pages times 30. So the page count will count as books. I hope that makes sense. Some of the reasons I'm doing this is I love a reading challenge. I get great enjoyment out of that. I know for some people that stresses them out, and that's understandable. I have told myself that if this gets too stressful, then I'm just going to back up. I'm just going to back away. I'm going to just go with it. If I can't get it done, it's no stress. This is meant to be fun, and if it's not fun, why do it, right? So I'm going to be there's a little caveat there. And then one of the other reasons I want to do this, and especially in using audiobooks, is because I really need to get better at my exercising. And if I have some good audiobooks to listen to, I'm more likely to go out and hike or get on the treadmill, something like that my body really needs right now. And I've got heart disease that runs in my family, and on top of my habits of poor culinary choices, it's something I'm kind of wanting to be aware of and try to make some good changes and healthier changes. And this last month in August, I really struggled to get out and exercise. So I thought this would be a great way as I start into the 4 months, my favorite 4 months of the year, to really encourage myself to get out every day, to do some kind of exercise, is to make it fun. So it's kind of a combo challenge I'm presenting myself. I'd like to get out and walk or exercise at least 6 out of the 7 days of the week. And so we'll see how that goes. And I'm hoping to have some videos along the way of my time out walking around again, and just reflecting on what I'm reading. So stay tuned for all that. But in any case, I think being able to do reading challenges like this is great fun if you're able. I'll probably hopefully have some kind of check-in throughout the month on how I'm doing in my 30 in 30 challenge. And then just a quick update on my Bookshelf Odyssey podcast. You'll find the videos down below in a playlist, or if you like just the audio, you can download it through any podcasting app. I've just begun what I call season 2. I started off with a great interview with Brendan Slocum, the author of The Violin Conspiracy, and I love that book so much. It was such a great book. So the links will be in the show notes if you want to catch that interview and haven't yet. In addition, I've got a bunch of authors lined up I'll be interviewing throughout the months of September and October. And I think I've got enough now scheduled that I should be able to have episodes every other week throughout the end of the year, which is my goal, to try to get some of these recordings done now so that I can have a little bit of a slower partial November and especially December, because of my Christmas podcast gets real busy in December, and I want to make sure I have not only time for that, but time, to see my family, since this is all just a hobby. In addition to that, I've just been so blessed and thankful for all of you who have subscribed recently and the interaction I'm getting in the comments. It's just been, this is what is making booktube worth it to me, is just the friendships I'm beginning to have, and the buddy reads and the conversations about books. It is enjoyable. So thank you. So one of the challenges I have for my channel is the next big number I want to hit is 500 subscribers. And I'd love to see that maybe even by the end of the year, but certainly by next August. August marked the 1-year anniversary of my podcast, so I think in another year I could probably get over 500. As always, if you want to share or recommend this channel, I greatly appreciate it. I'll also have some tag videos coming out in the month of September, and maybe a couple other little booktube videos along the way. So I look forward to what I'll have out there for you. All right, my September TBR is pretty, there's a lot. And I won't take the time to talk about each and every one in detail, just because this video might end up being really long because of that. I have a large stack of mysteries I'm going to be reading. Some of note I want to bring out is one by Agatha Christie called Lord Edgware Dies. And then another I'm looking forward to reading is Sense and Second Degree Murder by Tirzah Price. I just interviewed her for Jane Austen July and had a lot of fun with that interview. I loved her first one, Pride and Premeditation. And again, this is like a retelling of Sense and Sensibility set in a mystery novel. And I think you'd enjoy that if you like Jane Austen and mysteries. Another book I'll be reading is called The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. And I heard about this. I think I might have heard about it on a podcast or on booktube. I haven't read a whole lot about it because I don't want spoilers, but basically I think a man creates a clone of his wife and then has an affair with her, something like that. So it just sounds bonkers, and I'm all on board for that. So that's one of the other mysteries I'll be reading this month. But I've got a bunch of others that I'll be reading and probably giving an update on as we go through the month of September. Now in my science fiction stack, one I'm really looking forward to, one of the newer Murderbot books called Network Effect. I believe that's the first novel in the series. It's usually a novella or short story that Martha Wells has written, and I haven't read it yet, but it's been on my TBR, and I'm really excited to get to it. I love the Murderbot series. Murderbot is one of the more interesting, fascinating, complex literary characters I've read in a long time, and I'm real excited to get back into that world again. And also I'll be reading The Fated Sky by Mary Robinette Kowal, and that is book 2 in the Lady Astronaut universe. I read the first book a month or two ago, really enjoyed it, and book 2 takes place right after book 1, from what I understand, and carries on the story of humankind trying to get to Mars because of an asteroid that hit the Earth. It's an alternate history novel because it takes place in the 1950s and early 60s. but it's real fascinating as it looks at a lot of our current day social issues, but in the background of a science fiction novel. This is why I love genre novels even more than just reading something like this in fiction. Because I love the science fiction angle, I love the mystery angles, but then when they are able to take those stories and then also tell something really pertinent or fascinating about our culture or about relationships or humankind, it's just amazing, and it's really enjoyable when you can use the monsters and the science fiction and aliens and all that to explore humanity's issues. I'm looking forward to that read. I'll also be reading Mike Chen's book, Light Years from Home. Also, another book I found called Time Travelers Never Die, which sounds like a really interesting premise. I love time travel novels and movies, and those are some of my favorite stories to read because I always think that if I had a chance to time travel, I would do it. As a Ray Bradbury fan, I would know not to step on any butterflies, but if I could somehow do it safely, I think I would enjoy doing that. So a couple of the other science fiction books I'll be reading this month. So I've been doing a year-long read-through of the Palliser novels by Anthony Trollope. And so this month I'll be reading The Prime Minister, which is book 5 in the Palliser series. And I've been doing a read-along with a group, and I haven't participated much in the Voxer group chat that we're in, mostly because I'm not on schedule with them half the time, so I don't want to give any spoilers or really have any spoilers. So I got to figure out where we're all at here and make sure I'm keeping up. So, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun. I love Trollope's writing. He's a great author, and it's thanks to BookTube I even found out who Anthony Trollope was. So much appreciated to all of you who recommend his novels. Oh, and then I picked up a real interesting one called 1000 Nights, and it's by Ellie Gardner. I believe she's half Afghanistani. Anyway, she worked as a translator for the U.S. military for a few years and has written this book. It's a fiction book, tells the story of someone similar who is captured while in Afghanistan. She's a soldier who is a translator, and it's, from what I understand, it's like a slight kind of retelling of 1001 Nights. I just started reading it, and it's really, really good. The book opens up with how she gets captured and kidnapped and all that. But what it sounds like this novel will be, it's not just going to be a story that portrays the Afghanistan culture in a bad light. The author has experienced both worlds, being that I think it was her mother who was from Afghanistan, her father is American, that she's able to understand both cultures, and I think that's going to really make this novel stand out and not just be military is good, Afghanistan is bad, but we're going to really get some insight into that culture. So I had some quotes I wanted to read to you from the book, but I think I'll wait for an update video on it because I think it'll be worth thinking about and talking about. And then I have just a couple nonfiction books I'm working on. It's I have one book by Harold Bloom. It's a collection of essays about Charles Dickens, written by many different Dickens scholars. I think it was published about the 1970s or so. So they're older essays, but are still real fascinating. The one I really have enjoyed so far is the opening one on the darkness that's in Oliver Twist. And it talks about how Dickens uses the imagery of darkness and light and to help show Oliver's journey through the dark underworld, and how he's brought into the light of really redemption and rescue. So that really gave me a greater appreciation for Oliver Twist. It's never really been one of my favorite of Dickens's books. There's some problematic characters in the story and different things like that, but that essay really helped me have a better understanding of it, and I forget who the author was now of that essay, but yeah, so I'll talk more about that when I get the book finished. And then I just started reading Around the World in 80 Books. The man who wrote that decided to try to follow Phineas Fogg's journey around the world, but he did it through books. And it sounds like it was one of his pandemic hobbies while we were all in shutdown and lockdown, and then he turned it into a book. I just started reading the first couple of essays in it, and it sounds pretty interesting. We're starting off in England, so the first one he talked about Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and then the second one was on Great Expectations. So I liked what he had to say about those. Anyway, I'm kind of fascinated to see what books he talks about as he makes his way around the world. Now, just for the length of the video, there are several books I haven't mentioned, and I'll list them all out below so you can see my reading list for September. I do have some short stories planned I'll read if I just need a break from novels. I'd even throw in some graphic novels in there, stuff like that if I needed to. I don't read a lot of those, though, but Jim Butcher has some Harry Dresden graphic novels that I haven't read, and I might like to pick some of those up. If you have any good recommendations for anything I can read, shorter works, especially for this month, I'd love to hear. So please mention those below in the comments. We'll keep our conversation going. So next time I see you, it will be well into September. It's possible my eyes might have fallen out by then from all the reading I'm going to do, but we'll see. So until next time, take care and happy reading.